Hey, this is Brent with Lykins Motorsports. We're still working on old Triple J here, and I am in the process right now this morning of changing the exhaust valve springs. We got the intakes done last week, and I had to order some different valve locks in order to get the exhaust done, but we've got one side done. I'm gonna hop on to the other side. You guys probably don't care to see all that, and then I'll meet back up with you, and we'll get started on putting our valve train back together and getting our intake manifold on. Okay, so here's the finished product. These are, by the way, trick flow valve springs, part number 16972. I'm using some comp cams, 740 retainers, and kind of a mix Mod Podge of valve locks to get where I need to go. Our lifter retainers are snapped back into place, and I've loaded our push rods back in and made sure that they are seated into the lifters. We're going to come back with our rocker arms and our pedestals and shims and start zonking those down. Okay, I went ahead and put some assembly lube on all these parts because they haven't seen these kinds of spring loads before. So we want to make sure that everything's nice and coated when we fire up. Good thing about these factory cams is there's not a ton of lift, so you really don't have to spend a lot of time rolling the engine over. Like you do on some of the big boys. All right, here's our first victim that we're going to be bolting up today, and this will be the first one to use on the dyno. When I was pulling the distributor out, it struck me that I didn't really have a good way of checking top dead center. My head mounted piston stops don't work with this head because there's a big, it's hard to see for me not being able to use the flashlight, but there's a big step there before you get two threads. So I started cleaning harmonic balancer, and I'm seeing some stuff. Looks like Ford got cheap. Instead of abbreviating before top dead center, they shortened it to before top center. So I guess what I could do, there's 30, there's 20, there's 10. So the timing's locked out on this. So I think what I'll do is I'll set it at about 34 degrees, and that should, I'll maybe make a couple extra marks in case we need them. But between this and a dial back timing light, if we need it, I should be able to time it. But for sure needed something before I stabbed the distributor in, just to make sure that I was in the right spot. All right, so we're doing a mock-up of our intake manifold. I'm looking for any gaps that that shouldn't be there. So without a gasket, this is about what our channel wall clearance is. And on the front, about the same. So we'll get our gaskets on now. I've got several pairs of gaskets, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue a pair to the heads and then just use a really heavy grease for the surface between the gasket and the intake manifold. That way, hopefully, I can pry up and get the intake off without tearing the gaskets. And before I glue these on, I'm just checking port alignment. These are Felpro gaskets for, it's just a stock replacement for this year Explorer 5 liter. So everything looks good there, and I don't see any reasons why I can't snug these guys down, silicone them too. Somebody asked what I was going to do with the heat risers in the intake. I'm going to cut a little piece of a pop can and stick it under the gasket here, cover those up, and that has worked for me in the past. It should do fine and keep the heat out of the carburetor. Okay, we got some makeshift heat blockers there, and we've got a little bit more silicone than what I usually use on intake gaskets. These are labeled head side, so need to flip them over. Make sure our little tabs are engaged. What I want to do is I want to lay the intake manifold down on it just for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes until this silicone sets up, and to make sure that our gaskets stay in place. There's our gap for our China wall. We've got an equal gap in the back. So I'm gonna let the silicone set up, and this will give me time to get some bolts lined up. So small bolt forward, 5/16, 18 bolts, and I will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those. Okay, so our gaskets are stuck to the heads. I'm going to use some white lithium grease. I'm going to very, very liberally coat this. I want just nothing but a layer of grease in between the gasket and the intake manifold so that I can get it off, hopefully, when we're changing intakes on the dyno. So I'm going to lube this up, and we'll see what we got after that. Alright, so both sides coated, and we're going to lay our end rails. Now's the time when we're playing with junk engines to practice on our art skills when we're laying beads. But we need about a 1/4 inch bead of silicone. We're going to go through our checklist real quick, make sure everything's good. We've checked oiling. Our hold down tray is tight. Lifter trays are in, so we're in good shape. We're going to start up here. We're going to fill this void full, and then we're just going to lay a bead. Alright, I found these nice stainless fasteners. We're going to make a purse out of a sow's ear. Alright, we're getting ready to stab our distributor in. We're going to roll the engine over. That's our #1 exhaust valve opening. When it closes, the intake valve will open. Zero overlap to this cam. Okay, it's closing. I'm going to start looking down here at my balancer, and I'm going to stop it at about 34 or 2 or 3, and that'll give me the spot that I need to put my distributor in. So we'll get that dropped in now. Little chrome, get you home, right? Also got some chrome, or not chrome, stainless valve cover bolts. If you're gonna do it right, right? Never did get that one broken bolt out. It'll last to the dyno. If it leaks, it leaks. Alright. Probably the ugliest engine I've ever had my hands on. But it's ready to go. With the exception of the plug wires, and I'm going to wait till we get to the dyno and see how our headers look, see what kind of room I have. But this is it. Brand new Autolite spark plugs. I guess I'll keep the red cap. If we want it to be ugly, it's going to be ugly with a red cap. So when we get to the dyno, we'll take the oil filler cap off and let the engine breathe, since it's got no breathers or anything on it. So 3 intakes to try. This one, a ported version of this one, and a Performer RPM that's been ported. So, to make this interesting, put in your comments below what you think this engine will make fully tuned. Okay, so we'll do some carburetor spacers. Should be able to come up with a 650 or 750 carburetor. Timing changes, whatever we need to do to get the most horsepower out of this combination right here. Put in the comments below what you think that'll be. The closest, without going over, will win some Lykins Motorsports swag. So, there you go, guys. Hope you guys have had as much fun watching as I've had messing around with it. These engines are dyno mules like this when they first start out. It's just a whole lot of fun. You don't care what it does. You don't care if it scatters parts. You don't care if it leaks the rear main seal. You just don't care. So it's fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We've got an E303 cam to try. We've got one of my customs coming from, I had Bullet grind it. So we'll get to play some in the future. We'll get to see what this thing will do. So if you haven't subscribed, do that so that you don't miss out on the dyno results. Hope you guys are having a good week. Me and JJ Jr. are calling it quits for the day. Talk to you soon.